Hey, greetings and welcome to Psych B5. So I'm going to make a couple videos for you that I hope you watch before we start the semester on the 15th, or our half semester, our 8 week, long course on the 15th. So this is the syllabus video. I'll make a second video just about the Canvas page itself. That one will be much shorter, but for this one, I'm just going to walk through parts of the syllabus that I think would be good for you to know, and it may answer some of your questions. But if I don't, feel free to email me, or if you think of questions, if you think of questions I didn't cover, just send me an email, and I will help you out. So, welcome. My name is Jordan Rude. I'm glad you're here. Let me be quite honest off the bat. This is an 8-week course. It's accelerated. We have the same amount of material to cover that we would if this class was 16 weeks. So it may be a little intense at times, but this class, kind of the way it's laid out, is that we start kind of slow. A lot of people are nervous about taking statistics and kind of get lulled into this kind of like feeling of ease at the beginning, because it's not that tough at the beginning, to be honest. And it's going to ramp up a little bit toward the end, and it's going to feel like it might feel like a lot of work. I'm not going to give you anything that I consider like busy work. I'm going to give you enough that I think cover the concepts that we need to cover, and cover them thoroughly, and in a way that's meaningful, right? So it's not going to be like maybe some other courses where you deal with quantitative reasoning, where you just kind of do like 100 problems just for the sake of practice. I'm going to give you practice, but not overkill, right? Like enough that I feel like you'd be able to do this on your own, right? Okay, anyway, let's get to the syllabus. I want to walk through that with you. So let me pull this up. I got this straight from our Canvas page, and this syllabus video will be posted there as well. Okay, so for this class, this CRN, by the way, for our Psych B5 class, may not match yours exactly. I have 3 classes. They're going to be set up identically online, so this could easily be like, if I throw the other ones in there, I think they all just go in order like this. Yeah, like that. So if you're one of those 3 CRNs, then this syllabus is for you. So I like to start off every syllabus with a quote, right? So this one says, "No research without action, and no action without research." This is from Kurt Levine, and this is really kind of like an analytical style of thinking, very scientific form of thinking about how you inform yourselves, and in regards of epistemology, like where knowledge comes from. And for a lot of what we do in colleges and universities is kind of teach you to be really analytic thinkers, or to use reason when you're thinking. And so you can think of this class as a quantitative reasoning class, like how to make decisions, how to think about the world using data. It's not the only way to think about the world, but that's what this class is about, right? And it's not just a math class where I'm going to say, like, do these math problems. No, the purpose of learning how to go through these statistical processes is to be able ultimately to solve types of problems, to promote action, like this quote is suggesting, right? So no research without action. So that means do some research before you take action, before you decide how to act, and no action without research. So it's kind of cyclical. That means that you can let maybe the problems that you see in the world inspire research that is done. And so this kind of creates essentially the scientific method, right? So I like that quote. That's from Kurt Levine, who's considered one of the forefathers of social psychology, which is the subdiscipline of psychology that I've done my research in. Okay, so I like that, and that kind of helps set the tone for the class. If you have anxiety about taking a quote-unquote math class, we're going to do math, that's for sure, but this class is really, it's an interesting class that it's one part math, it's one part science, it's one part kind of reasoning and philosophy, and it's probably another part language. So you have all these things that you need to be introduced to really understand the world that we live in, since more and more of our decisions are being made, or even the general public wants them to be made, based on some type of empirical study, some type of data. So here you go. Here's what you do once you have the data. That's what this class is all about. What do you do with it from here? So you'll have some questions, hopefully, by the end of this class. You'll have like a tool bag. You'll have questions that you'll know that you can ask someone who's trying to make a persuasive argument with numbers. So you can go, okay, wait, I hear your argument. I hear the language you're using to explain yourself with numbers. And now I have some questions for you. So kind of my own personal goal as consumers of this type of research, quantitative research, I mean, is that you know what questions to ask somebody if they're trying to change your mind about something, or trying to get you to vote a certain way, for example. Then they bring data, they bring numbers out and graphs. You can go, I understand what you're saying, and I have some questions about where your data came from, or why you did what you did with the data, right? Okay, so that's kind of like my approach to this class. How do you not get the wool pulled over your eyes, right, when someone comes at you with a persuasive argument using numbers? All right, so let's get through this. Let's see here, the syllabus. If I haven't said it already, my name is Jordan Rude. You can call me Professor Rude. That's fine. You can call me Jordan. I'm okay with that too. The best way to reach me is through email, so jrude@bakersfieldcollege.edu. My office hours, I'll post to Canvas. I'm still hashing those out because there's some like weird crossover between my 16-week and 8-week classes, where at a certain point I'll have like 9 classes at once going on. That's a lot to juggle. So I'll post those office hours into Canvas. Typically what I'll do is I'll designate like an hour during the day and then an hour in the evening, so that if you work all day and you have questions about the class, we can meet up, in the early evening, maybe like 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock, so that I'm available for everyone should they need me. Okay, now the class day and time. This class is entirely online. I have lecture videos made. I'm making some more for each chapter that I want you to watch. These would be like the lectures if you're in the classroom. So you can watch those, and I'll show you the schedule in a sec, kind of at your own pace a little bit. Really meaning like you can work ahead a little ways if you want to in the class, the way I've got it set up, since we're completely online. But then you will have a chance to interact, and use me as a resource face to face. And I'll post those office hours to Canvas shortly. So there won't be any time where I do like a lecture over Zoom to everybody live. It's all recorded for you already. Okay, so the course description philosophy for our class. This one, I think I'm going to skip that really, because it basically breaks down into the learning outcomes anyway. I told you a bit about my personal philosophy as a consumer of research. I want you to have questions to ask and to understand how the process works when people do research. For a select few of you, you'll get bitten by the research bug at some point in maybe your college careers or your professional careers. And this class is a good introduction to the type of skills that you'll need to be a researcher. So we'll do a little bit of like consumer perspective and a little bit of research perspective, both in this class. But officially, the learning outcomes when you leave this class, when our 8 weeks are over, you should be able to do these 3 things that are listed here. And they're kind of big and vague. You might not know what they mean just now, so I'll just kind of go over them real quick. The first one is that when you complete the course, you should be able to identify and explain levels of measurement and terminology used in stats analysis. So there we go. There's a terminology. There's some of the language component of the class. And the levels of measurement, that's really has to do with understanding variables that are used in studies, and not all variables are the same, right? That's really what that's about. Number 2 is upon the completion of the course, student be able to explain and effectively apply descriptive and inferential statistics to each level of data. So in the first one, if you learn about level of data, the second step here, the second thing you should be able to do is some type of organization and interpretation of that data. Whether it's descriptive, you're just saying like, here's what happened, or if it's inferential, here's what we created, right? Here's a prediction, here's what happened after that. That gets into more hypothesis testing. And that's kind of how our class is broken up really into like 2 big chunks. We'll spend half the class really looking at descriptive statistics and stats and processes. And then the second half will be inferential statistics, where we get into more hypothesis testing, like we predict this and we tested for it and it did or didn't happen, right? So there's two kind of big sections in the class based on descriptive data and inferential data. Again, the third one, on completion of the course, you should be able to interpret the analyses. So the second one we just talked about is like, can you do the analyses? And the third is, now tell me what they mean. Can you interpret the analyses and use those to solve research problems? All right, so that's what we're going to go over in our class. And I'll get into more specific breakdowns when we look at the schedule in a sec. The text for the class, you need a book called The Process of Statistical Analysis in Psychology by McBride. And that's all you need. You only need the McBride book itself. And, let me show you. Actually, let me see. I pulled up a picture online to show you what it would look like. So let me share my other screen with you, right? So I went to Amazon and looked it up. You can get it from the bookstore, but you can find it all over the place. Honestly, I don't care where you get it as long as you have the book. Looks like right now there's 7 left in stock on Amazon. It's $40 if you want to buy it. It's $25 if you want to rent it. So not bad, but that's what it looks like right here. See this one with the different color, like jelly beans on it? That's the book you need. If you get a used copy, that's fine. You do not need an access code for this class. I have everything set up for you, but you do need a copy of the book. And I highly suggest that you get a copy of the book, because I know I was in college for a long time, and I know, wink, wink, like there were classes where I could get by without the book. But this isn't really one of those. Like, you're going to want the book as a reference, because a lot of the things we do in this class are going to be new to you. And it's good to hear me talk about them as you watch the lecture videos, but you're going to want the book as well. And I suggest you watch the lecture videos first and then read the book, because sometimes students will read the book and it's confusing because they're not comfortable with the terminology yet. And in my lectures, I do a lot of translating of that terminology. So maybe watch the lectures first and then read the book. Students of mine have used that strategy in the past, and they said that really worked for them. Okay, so you need a copy of the book. You don't need a workbook. You don't need an access code for anything. We are going to go over something called SPSS in our class. You can see that here. And SPSS, that's an acronym. That stands for the Statistical Packages for the Social Sciences. And you'll have free access to that, and I'll show you how to do that when the time comes. Like, we'll be there pretty quick, though. We'll be looking at that in week 2. So I'll post information for you about how to access SPSS for free. So you don't need to buy anything there, right? If the bookstore is selling something that has SPSS attached, you don't need it, right? I found a way to get it free for you. Okay, and that's really it. A calculator, yeah. A calculator is good to have as well. So you don't need a scientific calculator for this course. The most complicated, like arithmetic we do in here really is like squaring numbers and square rooting numbers. So that's pretty simple. Arithmetic is used for statistics. So as long as you have a calculator that can do those things, and most of you have a phone, right? If you have a phone with a smartphone, you got a calculator, so you're good to go, right? Okay, so book, I'll tell you more about SPSS soon, and a calculator, and you'll be all set for the class. Next thing's up on the syllabus, students with disabilities. So if you go through DSPS and there's some type of accommodation you need for to be successful in the class, then just let me know. Of course, I will work with you on that. Usually I have students that need sometimes a note taker, somebody in class that can take notes for them. I don't think that'll be an issue in this class, because I'll have videos for you so you can rewind and close caption on them, so that should be good too. But if you're someone who gets extra time, for example, on exams, and you go through DSPS for that service, for validation of that service, just send me your information. Send me an email with your DSPS paperwork, and you'll be good to go. No problems there. If you think you need services from DSPS, contact them as soon as you can, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you might expect to be able to use their services. So if you wait till the last minute right before an exam, you might not, get the approval from them in time. So go see them now if you think you might need their services, and their contact information is in the syllabus here. Okay, this next part I'm not going to read all this to you in length. Basically, I have links to all these services on our Canvas page should you need them, and you can probably a good place to always start is the Student Information Desk, or SID. Right now online, you get that little pop-up window in the screen when you first, log on to the BC site. So I would start there, but I have all these listed for you on Canvas. So if you're interested in any of those services, then check them out on Canvas. For public safety, this is something I throw in for when we're teaching face-to-face, when we're on campus in particular. And this class we're online, so you might not need this number now, but if you're going back to campus soon, it's always a good idea to have this, in your phone where you can get to it easily just in case. So public safety would like it if all students had, their number like on speed dial, just in case in their phone. Now I have a link here for a Better BC, so you can stay up to date on all the construction stuff going on. You're probably getting those emails anyway, but if you want to go check it out on your own, you can look there. They also have links to information about COVID-19 and like reopening and vaccinations and all that kind of stuff. So you can go check out that site. All right, now for course policy stuff, there's a few things I wanna point out here. So the first one is this idea of netiquette, which basically means to treat each other with respect. That includes me, by the way. I don't know, man. I get so many emails every day that, as far as netiquette goes, they're not rude. They just aren't very helpful, right? And then, for example, I might get an email from a student that just says, hey, what assignments am I missing? It doesn't say what class they're in. I can't help them out very well if I don't know where to look. I mean, I can find them by searching for their name, but it's going to take longer. So as far as netiquette goes, I want you to be respectful of each other in the class. Obviously, say on like discussion assignments, that you're not insulting each other. But then also when it comes to things like emails, be as clear as possible so you can get the help as fast as possible. So if you email me, of course, tell me your name, tell me the class you're in, and tell me the CRN number, because I'm going to have, this class starts, I'm going to have 5 sections going of Psych B5. So even if you tell me I'm in Psych B5, I'm going to be like, which one, right? So tell me the CRN section that you're in. I may kick back an email to you if you ask me a question, you don't put that information in. I may reply and say, hey, tell me what section you're in. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to prompt you to use netiquette in your emails. Okay. Next thing, the safe zone idea. So I know it's kind of a controversial topic right now, like politically, when people talk about colleges as safe spaces. This isn't quite the same thing. I have mixed feelings about colleges being safe spaces. Obviously, people need to be safe. People need to be able to express themselves and their ideas, without threat of repercussion or harm to them physically. But, cognitively, I don't know that I buy into that. I think people need to express their ideas. And if you don't like their idea, then somebody should express that they don't like your idea. And that we should have those types of debates and discussions. And a college should be a safe place to do that, right? Okay, now the safe zone is much more specific. Safe zone means that essentially I've gone through training and I'm officially letting everybody know that I'm an ally of the LGBTQ plus community. That's really the safe zone movement, is to create a space where people who are of the LGBTQ plus, I know all the different orientations that fit into the plus category. I don't mean to exclude you. There's just so many that that I see you, I hear you, and this is a place where you don't have to fear other people because of your sexual orientation, or at least I will play my part in making it a safer place for you. So it's a little more specific than just kind of in general a safe space, although that is also true. I want everybody to feel safe. But to be a safe zone ally also means that I have information. So if you are of the community or are curious about the community, you can, and the community, I mean the LGBTQ plus community, you can contact me. I can put you into contact with people who can help you out, right? If you're looking for specific services or you just have questions, that, you know, I'm a safe person that you can talk to, and I won't judge you. It seems strange to go through training for that. It's kind of like I would do that anyway. But now, you know, I can say it is official. Okay, so next thing is late work. So when it comes to my late work policy, so for this one, we'll accept. Well, it doesn't really work in our class to turn in late work. Well, here's how it goes, right? The way I have the class set up, since it's only 8 weeks, is we're going to cover the first 6 chapters, and everything that is assigned to those first 6 chapters. There's a quiz for every chapter. There's some form of discussion or like application type of assignment for every chapter. So it's like 2 assignments for every chapter, right? All of those are going to be due for those first 6 on one date, right? And it's April 12th is the date for our class. So that includes the first exam. So essentially, you know, there's not really a way for me to accept late work. You have so much time to ask questions and so much time to do all the work that there's no way for me to accept it late. Unless there's some kind of emergency, then you can contact me and I can work with you, because I will, right? Emergencies happen. Okay, for the drop policy. Now this one I'm going to be looking at. It says if you don't turn assignments 2 weeks in a row. I'm looking at this now. It doesn't quite make sense for our class. I'm going to have to go in and change that. But if you don't turn anything in by April 12th, is like the first kind of round where a lot of assignments are due. If you got nothing turned in, I'm going to drop you from the class. And that's really for your own benefit, you know, so that you don't come out with an F at the end of it, right? If you haven't turned anything in. But you guys aren't going to do that. You're going to turn your work in. I know it. Okay, so let's talk about the assessment for the class. This is, you know, what kind of work can you expect here? For our class, I've got, it's nothing super creative, honestly. You know, it's what you might expect. We have exams. There's 3 exams. You know, the first one is on the first 6 chapters, and then the next 6, and then I think it's like the next 3, right? So there's 3 exams, they're 50 points each. Everything we talk about in class, it's in my lecture videos or in your book, or the assignments, or SPSS, like any of that could be on the exam, but you'll be prepared for that when the time comes. A lot of the exams are multiple choice types of questions. There are some, of course, where you have to actually work out problems, and it'll take a little longer to do, right? Now, we also have chapter quizzes in our class. So the chapter quizzes are 10 points each. Those are all multiple choice chapter quizzes. And there's a practice quiz that you can take before you kind of jump in to take the actual chapter quiz. And I like to do that so you can kind of see like the format of the quiz. You can see what it looks like. And also you can get kind of an idea about the material that'll be on the chapter quiz. So you have one of those quizzes for every chapter. And those are directly on Canvas. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you don't need any kind of access code to do these. You can do them directly in Canvas. And the same thing goes for like the discussion application assignments. So I'm saying discussion application because sometimes it is like, what's your thought on this? But usually it's not that. It's usually not that kind of discussion, because we don't go over a lot of theory in this class. You know, it's a little more practical and application based, right? You're like doing things. So instead, the assignment will say like, okay, you took that multiple choice quiz. Now here's something where I need to see some of your work. All right, so you'll have a discussion or application type of assignment for each chapter as well. And then we get into the SPSS assignments. So these have to do with software for the class. So part of statistics is not just knowing how to do things by hand, but knowing how to use software to do the analysis for you. So I want to kind of break you in slowly with that, and I have videos for you to watch, and about how to download SPSS or how to access it remotely, and then how to use it, right? So we've got SPSS. More on that as we get there. You'll see that soon, but that's the software we use in the class. And then we have a project assignment. So for this one, this is always really fun when we do this face-to-face, and I'm trying to find ways to do this online still. And the basic idea here is that if you're like me in the way that I learned statistical processes, working in psychology labs, was really the kind of the seat of my pants. Like I had took a class like this one that you guys are taking, and then I took a research methods class. So if you're a psychology major, that's the next class in the sequence. And I think I took maybe one lab class when I was a student, and that was kind of it. And then I was doing my own research after that, with help, under direction. But it wasn't like I was an expert at any of it, right? It's all a learning process, and I kind of learned more advanced statistical techniques based on the type of scientific question we had in front of us, and kind of what are the appropriate statistical models for trying to get to the bottom of this question. And that's not always the simple stuff that you would get in this kind of class. It's a little more complex. So I found like that was a really good way to learn about statistics. Was, you care more about it. It's like, what's the expression? You got more skin in the game, because it's like, here's my research question, and I want to do it right. I want to do it correctly. I want to try to answer it, scientifically and correctly, and I need to know what type of stats are the best to use, right? So one way to do that is to, be involved in a research project. So you'll have the chance to do that too. And this breaks down into, I think I'm breaking it down into, I think it's, I'll have to look now in the syllabus. Maybe it's in the next section. It's like 5 assignments, I believe. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a whole list of, like a spreadsheet, basically, of surveys, survey responses, and the variables and the questions that people were asked about on that survey. And then you're going to pick 2 of those variables, things that you think are related to each other, and you're going to tell me why. They're going to do an analysis, and you're going to report your findings. So you kind of be doing your own directed research project. You're not going to have to collect the data. I did that part for you already, but you'll have to do the analysis and interpretation in our class. And that's due in chunks. It's not like you have to do it all at once. Okay, so here's how the class is broken down. And I'm saying tentative, honestly, because I've never done this class in 8 weeks. I've done it in 10 in the summer, but that's when we would meet in class every day, Monday through Thursday. And that's easy, right? Because you get totally immersed in the class. But now I'm asking you to immerse yourself completely in the class in an online format, and a lot of that is going to be on your shoulders. Like, I can do everything I can on my end, but if you're not buying in and you're not being responsible, like you don't have the discipline to make sure you're doing your work on time, then it can be frustrating. So I created this schedule for you. It's a tentative schedule. It might change if we need more time on something. And like I said, I'm just trying it out, so I'm calling it tentative. But here's what I was thinking. So I kind of worked it out for you that here's a suggested pacing so that you don't get overwhelmed. The first week, so for example, the first week I have 3 chapters I'm suggesting you try to get through. That's a lot. If you can get through all 3 of those chapters in the first week, good for you. You certainly can if you have the time. They're not overly complicated chapters, but it is time consuming, and it's important information for us for the class. But you'll see nothing is due, right? I just want you to work through the materials. You can complete everything early if you want to, but get through these first 3 chapters, and then the second week of the class, I'm suggesting you look at chapters 4 and 5, and that's enough, right? I'm trying to do no more than 2 chapters a week, but somewhere I had to throw in a 3-chapter week, and I figured it was better to do it at the beginning when the information is simpler. Okay, then we have our spring break right in the third week, which is kind of strange, but there it is. And then fourth week, we come back, and I got one more chapter in there for you. That chapter will be a cinch because we'll pretty much have already covered all that material in chapters 1 through 5. So this will be kind of like a review in a way. And then you have Project 1 and Exam 1, and all of that from chapters 1 through 6. The Project 1, Exam number 1 is due April 12th, right? So I'm giving you all this time to do it. So when I was saying earlier, like the late work policy doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, look at this. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, like almost 5 weeks to get all these assignments completed, right? So you have lots of time there. But I do strongly suggest you stick to this pacing so you don't get behind and get overwhelmed. And that's kind of the way I work the class out, right? So then starting in, what week is this? This will be week 5, I believe. Then we do chapter 7 and 8 in 1 week, and the next week 9 and 10. Next week, one chapter 11, and then you have Project 2 is due and Exam 2 on May 3rd, right, toward the end of class, right? And then there's just, that week when you're turning all this work in, then you're starting our final 2 chapters, chapters 12 and 15. And then the last chapter in the last week of class, you got 1 chapter there, and then you have the exam and Project 3. So I'll open this up in these kind of big blocks. Right now, you should have access to all of this material, chapter 1 through 6 here, right? So all of this will be available for you right now. When we get to April 12th, then I'll open up the next chunk of the class, which would be all of this information. Right, that'll be available for you. And then on May 3rd, you'll have access to all of this information. So you can kind of work at your own pace a bit. Think of the class in like 3 big blocks that way, and you'll be in good shape. Okay, so I'm sure you'll have questions about the syllabus and more questions about the structure of the class. Just send them my way. And I will answer you. And I look forward to this semester. I hope you do too. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to do it quickly, but if we can stay on top of it, we'll maintain control and regulation of our stress levels. We'll be good to go. Okay, guys, I will see you soon. That's all for now. Bye.